Everyone can do it, but the problem is not everyone has the will. Not everyone is willing to get up and, it's a struggle. Success is a struggle. I think that we hear a lot of that first part of that phrase. Success is a struggle, but what we don't learn and condition our mind is that we have to fall in love with the problems. If you want to get to that point where you buy freedom, because you said this earlier, it's like money isn't the thing, it is the freedom.
Now, today we have Terra Harvell as our guest for the podcast. Now, the reason why I really loved having Nicole and I in a podcast with her in this show is because she's really real. She's really real. She's got grit and she's got the chutzpah and she's got the real deal. And what I love about her is that she went from major debt to building a six-figures empire and then to seven-figure empire. And now she's in her multi-eight, of course, with three scalable models. So if you were interested of learning what does it take, if it's possible to even go from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, and it doesn't have to take so long, you don't want to miss this episode. She started as a hairstylist with just a few $100s, and she packed everything she owned and moved across the country to Las Vegas to pursue a bigger future. It didn't take a long time for her to discover that the power of high ticket services is her specialty, and not only her specialty, the power to share that with everyone is what's led her to build an extension company as a path for financial growth. So with all of that, she created Harper Ellis Hair Co. And brought her to a multi 8-figure hair extension from starting from such a little place. And so I admire her. Nicole and I had the best time. We have learned so much. You do not want to miss that one. And we're so happy to share it. And remember, subscribe to this episode. And if you subscribe to this episode, it let us build and continue building this show to bring you some great people that allows you to build your service business. Whether you are in the wellness center, maybe you have medical aesthetics, maybe you're looking to build a franchise, maybe you're looking to just learn what does it take to be happier. And whether it is internally, externally, what makes you feel beautiful. It is, after all, a profitable life. And if you do not have a profitable life, then it takes you longer to be happier. So let's talk about that and let's dive right into this. Hey, Tara, so good to see you. I'm super glad, and I'd love to dive right into what we have for today.
Let's go. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just excited to talk to you both and talk about the industry and talk about business.
Well, I love that. When we start with all of our guests, one of the biggest questions that we always ask is, and even before we dive into your amazing success and your journey in entrepreneurship, tell me a little bit about that time when you were in a place where you woke up in the morning and you said, you know what, I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. This is not for me. I've done everything I can. I don't like it. I'm exhausted. I don't want it anymore. But something happened that completely shifted your train of thought, and it made you say, no, I'm going for it. I'm going to do it. What shifted? What was the pivot point? And what made you feel like I was almost on the verge of be done, but now I'm going for it?
Yeah, I probably have a little bit of a twist of an answer to that question that you may not be expecting, but I actually have never done that. And what I'm about to say, I'm sure some of you, the guys listening to this, are like, wow, okay, thanks a lot, robot. I can't believe. But I think that people, when they wake up with that thought process, the bottom line is they just don't hate where they came from enough. And it's not, growing up, I didn't have a terrible life. That wasn't it at all. But I very quickly, as a young adult, learned what life I did not want. And the life that I was coming from was the life that I did not want to have. And so, have I had days and mornings that I've woke up and thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to continue to do this? I'm not sure what my next move is. Do I feel lost? Do I feel confused? Do I get defeated? Absolutely. But it's just never an option for me to give up. And I've never even considered to give up. So yeah.
Now, I get that. So maybe not giving up, but were there times when during your entrepreneurial life that you doubted that what you're doing is, do you really want to keep doing it?
Yes, absolutely. There is quite a long story on that, and I'll shorten it as much as I possibly can. But where I'm at now, I'm a salon owner. I've been a salon owner for now 8 years, and I have failed over and over. I've had multiple walkouts, and I've just had a lot of failures in business. And the thing is I've come out of every single one of those failures, and they have taught me such a profound lesson. But I've also had failures that I've looked over, and I've lacked the self-awareness to go look in the mirror and understand that happened because of me, and I can control my reality. And so, I will tell you, I have recently, in the last just year and a half, I think people look a lot at my success. I also have Harper hair company. We are an 8-figure business. We grew extremely quickly. And a lot of people look at my success and think, oh my goodness, it's been an overnight success. Well, that's not really the truth. I haven't actually, inside this industry, been living a lot of my truth, because my biggest failure has been my businesses speaking to everyone. I wanted everyone to do business with me. And I wanted to fit everyone's narrative inside of the salon industry. And I didn't realize until about a year and a half ago, when I learned to look at my numbers, and I learned to look at our retention rate and who was surrounding me as far as my customers. And I just absolutely hated myself in business. And so that has been my absolute biggest failure. And since about a year and a half ago, I've been living my truth about how salons should be ran, and how salons should be scaled. And now I'm surrounded with my dream clients. It's not perfect. I still have days that I wake up and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Sometimes it just is that way. But now reality looks a lot different for me. We're scaling so much faster. And that's because, of my biggest failure, which is talking to everyone.
And the thing is that what you said something about, I didn't have a bad life, but I didn't want to have that kind of a life. I knew right then that that's not what I want to have. What did you have? Well, what wasn't great?
Yeah. So I grew up with, both of my parents. I got divorced when I was younger. And the reality is they both were very loving parents. I thank my parents every single day for the way I was raised, because it programmed me to be the way that I am now. But really the reality is they both lived paycheck to paycheck. And they never made the right moves to build wealth over time, not only for me and my brother, but for themselves. And I still look at my parents to this day, and, they're in their 60s and they're still working. They're still having to do the same thing that they were doing 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, in order to survive and to, be able to live this life. And so I learned early on, I have to make reality different. And what's been amazing is my favorite title is I'm a hairstylist. I am just a hairstylist. I love to put just in front of that, because now I'm the CEO of an 8-figure business and, a 7-figure salon. And my reality is a lot different. And not only that, I'm building wealth for myself, but I'm helping other people do the same thing. And anyone can do it. I was the bottom, 10% of my class. I miserably failed the ACT and got put in remedial classes all through college. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And so I just wanted my life to look a lot different, and it does, but I've had to work for it.
Now, thanks for sharing that, because not everybody would share that story, right? And so many see your success today. Uh, or maybe some people don't even know about Terra and her success, but very few people understand the full journey, right? And you yourself, you said that it wasn't an overnight success. You looked it back and you say, my parents still today, they work. I mean, 60 is nothing, please. It's like, I'm going to be 60 soon. But at one point, you said to yourself, I want more than that, and I want it sooner than later.
Yeah.
And so, and for everybody, if everybody can do it, Tara, everybody would do it.
Mhm.
And we all know that 75% in the brick and mortar or service industry don't make it.
Right.
Only 20% are actually going to leave paycheck to paycheck, but only 5% really make it
Mhm.
more than the average.
Yeah.
Um, what made that? And let's not go to the past of the journey yet. I'd love to go there, and I know we'll dig in there. But what made you go from 6 to 7 and from 7 till 8?
Yeah. So something that I said, everyone can do it, but the problem is not everyone has the will. Not everyone is willing to get up and, it's a struggle. Success is a struggle. But I think that we hear a lot of that first part of that phrase. Success is a struggle. But what we don't learn and condition our mind is that we have to fall in love with the problems, because as you grow a business, you're going to have a million problems. And as you get to the next level, it just unlocks a whole new can of worms, per se, right? And our consciously, we want to look at that as a negative. We want to look at those things as like, oh my goodness, I'm failing because I have a million problems on my plate. Well, that's not really the case. That's just the name of the game. And so I think they meet those with, that they don't have the will to fight through. They don't have the will to, and some of those problems become large for people, just like caring what other people think, and not being able to make big changes inside of your business because you're afraid you're going to run off all of your employees and all of those things. But not everyone has the will to be able, to do those things. And so I think that's number one. But, to get from, as a hairstylist, I was able to do $750,000 in revenue behind the chair, working 4 days a week. And I think people look at that stat sometimes and they're like, oh my goodness, I can't, I've struggled to get to the 6-figure marker, just, $100,000. Well, the reality is we make targets so much harder than they have to be. All I was able to do was I took a high ticket service, which was hair extensions. I reverse engineered exactly how many clients I needed in order to get to that number. And the reason why that was the number, it was actually around 650, was because I was in terrible credit card debt. And I was in terrible financial situation that I had to get out of that, right? And so I think we just overcomplicate the target a lot. But, moving into 7 figures, I didn't do that until I learned to scale. And a lot of problems inside this industry is we are taught to go do a service. We exchange our dollar for the minute. And we're not taught to think beyond just that, right? We're taught to do the work with our hands, to do the best foil, to do the best extensions, the best haircuts. But we're not taught to think scaling and how to multiply the money after that. And I remember I met a mentor when I was doing very well behind the chair. And that mentor said to me, they said, Terra, get real. No one gets rich off of doing a job that they trade their time for. And he goes, just look around. Have you ever met someone that is terribly wealthy, that has been able to trade their time for money and make a bunch of money? And so it took that mentor just kind of hit me in the face with that, even though that wasn't much profound advice. It was just something that we massively forget inside of the hair industry, in any service-based industry. That's not just the hair industry. We've got HVAC. You've got all of these things, that are out there, construction, that are service-based. And so that is how I scaled all the way to 8 figures. And it is because I learned how to multiply my money. And whether that was, create a product, which I have, but also we're doing the same exact thing inside the salon industry. We're combating those, the terrible retention rate that we have with just employees, not just clients, but our employees. And we're able to scale that business, but not just scale for the owner, scale for the stylist. So, yeah.
This episode is sponsored by Salon Cadence, the only global advisory network helping salon and spa and med spa CEOs scale to 7 and 8 figures without a burnout. This is not a do-it-yourself program. This is do it with you and for you. From profit-first system to team-run leadership. First, we fix the numbers, then we create the wealth, then we will focus on CEO mindset, and we build the process with your team to give you the ultimate freedom to become the true CEO and visionary you are. We have helped thousands grow widely successful for freedom driven companies in beauty, wellness, and regenerative medicine. If you're ready to grow, scale, and live a wealthy life, visit saloncadence.com. Now, one of the most important things that you can invest in and not do it yourself, I highly recommend mysalonbooks.com. Salon owners that are tired of never knowing if you're actually profitable or where your money is going, on what your money is doing for you or against you. The team at My Salon Books takes the stress off your plate. They are specialized in salon booking, providing real-time insight and financial clarity so you can focus on what you do best, running a thriving salon. Here at Salon Cadence, we recommend mysalonbooks.com. It is the only bookkeeping management that utilizes the profit first the right way. So go to mysalonbooks.com to learn more and get free evaluation of your own books. So if you're solopreneur, and I love that you're sharing that because it really is what we teach. It's at Salon Cadence. We literally take the operators and we remove them from the table, or we remove them from the room, or we remove them from their minutia, from the weeds, and we help them, let go, because in order to grow, you have to do it.
Yeah.
So, but if somebody would have asked you today, or you told Terra 20 years ago, 15 years ago, if you told her, listen, you're a solopreneur, and would you say to that person, there's a cap to your growth? Can you grow to a 7 figure or to a high 6 figures if you're solo?
Yeah.
And if so, what is it that, because I know that your companies supply extensions and education to many, 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 many solopreneurs, and they need to learn all that. So do they have to sell their soul to their time devil in order to be taking home $100,000 or $200,000 as an owner income?
Yeah. So number one, I've never ever seen someone scale that was a solopreneur. I've never seen someone, because you can't, because unfortunately we didn't make time and we only have 24 hours in the day. And so I've never ever seen someone, scale, and they are capped by themselves. And when I made the connection that I was just talking about, that was my number one connection. Okay, not only now do I have to go out and figure out how to scale the services and scale what we're actually doing, but I have to go scale through people. And this is when, I opened my salon. I didn't know what I was doing. I failed miserably. I had multiple walkouts, all of the things that most salon owners have experienced. If you haven't yet, you will. But I realized, I not only have to be good at what I do, but I have to be a good leader, and I have to scale through people. And so the short answer to what you said is no, you can't scale through just one person. You have to build a team. And it's vital if you want to, if your goal is to scale. Sure, you can make a great income on your own, but the minute that your body goes out, I had a surprise back surgery literally 6 weeks ago. Suddenly I was in the hospital, laid up in surgery. And it's right after I met you guys at the event that we were at. And
that's right, you were sick at that time.
Yes, I was. And I ended up having a spinal cord leak. And even since all of that going, it was insane, but it connected to me. I'm like, so many salon owners even, or stylists, are stuck in this they're doing the actual job with their hands. And when their body doesn't allow that anymore, their career ends. That's why you have such a high, the percentage of people getting out of this industry is so very high, because when their body gives up, when their body scales back, their income scales back. And it's just not feasible in order to scale. So we have to beat that in any service-based industry in order to be able to grow. And if you want 8 figures, if you want 9 figures, you have to be able to build through people.
Yes. Now, we had this class the other day when we were working with a lot of solopreneurs and teaching them just to understand the numbers, because and how to manage their cash flow and how to really grow what they need. And one of the question was of Ellis. I love her. She says, Ronit, my body is starting to deteriorate. My hand hurts, my back hurts. And so can I hire somebody and teach them to do what I would like to hire an assistant. And so my very first thing was like, Ellie, I'm totally with you. But the very first thing is that you need to know is how much money do you actually want to make and take home? And so many of us, when we start anything, we don't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't think about how much money we want to make. What's the number that is going to make us happy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what happiness is it going to buy? What's the happiness that it's going to give us? And then once you realize what the number is and how you want to show up into your life like this, then you kind of reverse engineer to where you are and what does it take to get there. It's like it's simple as that. It's the simple of the thinking of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's go back to you. What has helped you transform, or what was the shift that you said to yourself, that's it?
Yeah.
I'm going from right now. I'm all I can think of. You cannot get to 8 figures unless you're at the point to scale. And so, what was the point that you said to yourself, I got to do something different because selling my time is not it?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to say that, and also you mentioned having several walkouts, and it takes a good team. Like you were saying, you have to scale through people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to also hear about the teams that you have in place, and what position really brought you the freedom and the ability to scale. Like what really helped you unlock that?
Yeah, so I know that you guys have a lot of salon owners and different owners that listen to this, and I want to say this because this is actually something that we teach hairstylists, but also salon owners inside of our program. We call it the scaling process of a hairstylist, because 99% of the time, most salon owners were once a hairstylist.
Yeah.
And something that was a game changer to me was when I learned the art of duplication. And I had a mentor of mine tell me once, Terra, if you're still doing the same job that you were doing a year ago, 2 years ago, or even 6 months ago, you're not scaling because you're not duplicating you and anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what we call a break point inside of our industry, when 97% of salons fail, why we have that stat is because salon owners go out and they want to open salons before they know how to be successful behind the chair themselves. This is where a lot of other mentors, they're kind of like, I don't agree with that. I think that and I'm like, no, because you cannot teach your team what success looks like if you've never done the thing to be successful. And, maybe you can, like a version of success, but will they trust you and will they trust you long-term? I'm not sure. And so the best thing that I did, and this is where, we help salon owners do the same, is like, how do you not be the stylist? Because you've got to go scale the business. You can't do the thing with your hands behind the chair. And so what we do, and all of our salons that work with us, is we basically tell them, okay, get to this point. We have a threshold based off their pricing, based off of, where they live. It's like, this is where your revenue needs to be before you even think about going back from behind the chair. Because here's the thing, if you're here with your revenue, then you can afford to bring on an assistant and not go backwards. Because when you bring on an assistant, guess what? You got to pay that assistant. And so if that assistant doesn't make your revenue at least cover their wages, then you're going backwards in revenue. And I think that's where a lot of break point is, where they're not putting that together. Okay, if I bring on this employee, it is going to cost me, but it could be a revenue driver if my training and all my processes are in place. And so you have to duplicate you. If you're a success story behind the chair, you have to duplicate you. And what we've done inside of my salon, and now hundreds of others, is we take that owner, we show the team through that owner what success looks like, and then we make them a duplication. And what ends up happening is that duplication has a duplication. And usually one of their duplications create more duplications. And it's a huge family tree inside of the salon, but it doesn't get lost on what success looks like. And so even in my, my e-commerce, which is our hair extension company, it's the same exact way. There was a day, like most salon owners, I did the marketing, I did the operations, I did the shipping. And we were just talking about the other day, we have new, ladies that work in our warehouse, and they were like, you guys do know that Terra, the CEO, used to pack orders out of the attic of our salon. And they're like, what? Like, girl, I have packed lots of packages. Don't get this twisted. And so, but the point is like, I'm not still doing that. I'm very far from that position, and you have to duplicate you in order to grow and scale. And as you duplicate, those duplications need to be revenue drivers, because revenue is the heartbeat of your business. If you don't have it, there's no way you can scale.
I love that, because Nicole, we were just talking to Candy and the other day, and there's many ways that you can scale. There's not just one model. Of course, one model is through a team, and this is obviously what you have done the first, is you scale through a team. And at Salon Cadence, we're the same way. We scale through our team, and then at one point, when you scale through a team, you can also start thinking about maybe bringing another revenue stream. That's another model, or another scalable model. So, and you don't really need to bring 2 or 3 scalable model. All you need is one. And so one of the scalable model that you brought, once you were able to spend time on thinking, once you were, and this is super critical to even mention, that you can't really grow and if you don't have the time to think. And as a CEO of a company, or as an owner of a company, you really want to have the time to reflect, to think, to invest in growing, to invest in yourself. And so if you don't have that time, then you cannot go to that next level. So many people open a second location, and they've not yet maximized on the first location. So now they're working in 2 locations, and they're dying, but they keep it open.
Yeah.
And then we all know that unless you have a really good system, and you have 2 good, 2 good management, and each of the management is different in every location, because you can just duplicate and use the same model on the second one, and the same people for the second one.
Yeah.
And so you said there's a reason why you cannot scale until you get to a certain number. And I so 100% agree with you. But so many times we hear it in so many promotion and all the marketing, that you got to make it to the 7 figures. You got to run a 7-figure salon. And so there's a reason behind that. There's a reason. You can't just take home $150,000 and pay somebody else $100,000 salary, or another $100,000 salary. So now you're at, $400,000. And so your company has to bring you at least $1.2 million to be able to afford those salaries.
Yeah.
So that's the connection right there. Yeah. So what took you from 7 to an 8? Is that the second model?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So my other business, which is a product business, we have Harper Ellis Hair Company. That's what scaled on its own without the salon. They're two separate businesses. That's what scaled to the 8-figure mark. And, that all came from, me wanting to add a new stream of revenue. But I was not able to go out and do that until I had duplicated me behind the chair. And I had to maximize that in order to go have like you said, the time to think, to go build something else. Now, Harper Ellis, I'm so happy. I mentioned earlier, I had a crazy surprise surgery a few weeks ago and I was out. And well, this business, I was like, wow, you guys don't even need me. Like the amount of phone calls that I got, I was calling. I was like, do you guys need me? Like, what are you doing? Hello, somebody. And it just was like reminder of like what I'm doing, creating the processes and working on the right things at the right time is how I'm able to scale that. Because now we even have a third business. We are, doing consulting, salon consulting. But we're also on the ground level of building out a brand new software, a management software with all of our IP that salons run off of. It's called Strata. We're doing the same thing over there. So there comes number 3 or 4, and so, but I can't do that until I have, we call that squirrel syndrome. And that's what I think a lot of salon owners, we get that is, you want to have these new ideas and you want to do the thing. But if you don't maximize where you're at and prioritize what is the constraint today, you can't think about adding another revenue if you've not duplicated you behind the chair to be able to come off from behind the chair. If your revenue is still paying the light bill, paying the rent, and keeping this place afloat, you have one constraint: no duplication. So figure that out.
With this podcast or our show, it's Living a Profitable Life show, we're going to bring you so many great guests and lessons and teachings. So it's really is wonderful to have our partners, sponsors that helping us make this possible for everyone. But it is you who are going to make us better. So I'm asking you to always comment and let me know, how was this episode? Was it helpful? What else would you like to learn? What else would you like to see? It's predicted within the next few years, this industry, this beautiful beauty industry around the world is going to be growing by 8 to 10% incremental. That means opportunities to grow, to develop, to anything you want to be in this world. The thing is, the more you subscribe and share it with your friend, the more I can make this podcast be the best place for you. Any subject that you find is necessary, let us know. So please subscribe and help us get to at least 1,000 downloads. Once we get there, we'll celebrate. And so what made you, because it's not easy. It's not easy to grow. It's like that yo-yo dance, right? It's going back, it's going forward, it's going back, it's going forward. And again, 70% will keep that the same mentality, will do the same mistake over and over and over again. So at what point did you get to that point where you said, that's it? I got to trust other people to do that. Yeah. How did you get there?
Yeah. I think I have spent, and I'll just be honest with you guys, in the last 2 years, I have spent around 15 hours a week, and that's minimum, working on my leadership. There's not a John Maxwell book that I have not read. There is not, I'm talking millions on my leadership training. And that is where I had to learn, like, okay, if you're going to build a team, you've got to learn how to build people, because if you want to scale, it becomes not about you anymore at all. It's not about you anymore. And so I think that's also a huge gap, is where people just they don't take the time to learn how to be a great leader so they can duplicate them and let go of control. Because if you can't let go of control, you lack a leadership skill. Because if you can't develop people to do things better than you, or hey, it may not always be better, but different than you, and you be okay with that because the job gets 80% done, then you have a leadership, deficiency that you need to go learn in order to develop other people. So you don't have to have control over, because people don't want to be controlled, especially in the hair industry. Freedom is all the rave. They're very confused on what freedom is, but all the rave. Everyone wants freedom. However, if that's the case, then we have to be able to pour into these people and develop other leaders. So.
I love that. And being in the industry that you are, you know, the hair extensions. Let's talk about that. How competitive is that extension? And look at you. Look at what you're building.
Yeah.
And and you're going right through it. I mean, so what are the biggest challenges that you had to, wave yourself through it and build trust with other company, just be there.
Yeah.
As a woman, to a woman, from a woman, as a mother, I know how hard it is to just be an entrepreneur, to scale,
Mhm.
but to be among such a competitive world,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I have a really healthy way of looking at competitors. Um, for instance, instead of me being fluffy and being like, there's room for all of us, like, okay, true, but who really believes that at the end of the day? But what I do believe is, yeah, sure, there's an extension artist on every corner in my own town, right? And there was even when I started doing extensions. But what I was able to do was going, okay, Terra, you need this amount of money to get out of the crippling debt that you're in. So I reverse engineered that. I only needed 72 extension clients. I didn't need to go talk to, my town is very small. I mean, compared to some, we have 80,000 people in my town. 72 was all that I needed. So I needed to be the luxury stylist. I had to show up exactly to find that 72, those core people that were my dream clientele, the avatar. They, were like me. You're not ever going to attract someone that you're not. You're not ever going to attract a bougie stylist or a bougie clientele if you're not bougie. Like I feel like we get taught that a lot, and it's crazy. But I was like, I can find 72 women that want to invest in their hair at the ticket price that I'm charging. That is not hard. I went out and I built 72, and that was my target. I had a target. I broke that down per month. I broke that down per week, how many extension clients I needed to gain. And that's what we teach other extension artists to do. Like, don't go out there and try to grab them all. You can't. You don't have the time in the day to do that.
What do you do? So this is not this is a typical problem. Everybody gets extensions, right? They all get into investment of those extensions, but then they quit on that investment because they cannot build the extension. So they reverse back into, let's just do color and let's just do cut, because it's very difficult to get it. So what do you do to overcome that?
Yeah, I think the number one thing, and I love this, I just had a meeting with my team this morning on this. We have a really high, as far as like stylists who come into our education is sort of tiered. Like if you're a stylist that makes under 100K in revenue, you come in on, like, we don't want you focusing on scaling. We want you to focus on, building that clientele. How do you market yourself? And so we were talking about this earlier because we have a high retention rate amongst that group of stylists because they are small. And it's like they hit that wall of like, oh my gosh, it's hard to gain. But here's also the stat that's going to be very interesting. When we poll and survey those amount of stylists, the amount of practice and time that they've put in, and also marketing that they've put in on building that clientele, is bare minimum. And so I hate to give you this story, but it's really like sometimes they're just lazy, and sometimes they just think that they're putting out all the effort, but really they're just stressing about the effort that they have not yet put in. My stylists, when they come into my own salon to get, they come in as assistants, y'all, they do 80 extension rows a month for practice.
Wow.
Because they can't be bad and they can't be slow.
Yeah.
In order to make money doing this. And so, we help them combat that early on. Like, don't wait until you get out of the assistant program to practice. Like, that's crazy. Put into work now so you can come out as a stylist and shine with your skill level and your timing. Mm-hmm. And then after that, building that brand and, especially building a brand, attracting clientele, even if you're doing cut and color and attracting those kind of clients, it's not built overnight, right? It does take time, and it takes setting that target, reverse engineering it, and also getting down and talking to the right kind of client.
Yes.
It's all in your marketing. Yeah.
So it's mostly literally go get your clients.
Yeah.
But you're working for a salon, right? And you're very busy. and you got all your regular clients, and typically the clients that you have are not extension clients.
Yeah.
It's a whole different clientele. So what do you tell, or how do you help salon owners invest in extensions, because they have not only themselves to convince that it's going to work, but 10 more people in their salon.
Yeah. So I think with something like this, if you want to win at something, you have to actually plan to win, right? And so when I started doing extensions, I was completely booked. I was doing already around $200,000 in revenue just doing cut and color, right? Well, I was booked. And so I also didn't want to take the risk of like, okay, I have to kick out all of my, bread and butter clients per se in order to grow, but I did want to grow. And so instead of working 4 days a week, I added back my fifth for about a year and a half. I knew it wasn't a forever thing, but I knew if I really wanted to plan to win in that thing, I had to plan to do that.
Yeah.
So I added back that fifth day, and that's when I took all of my extension clients and I started to, I put them in categories of 3, one being extension or clients that would never turn into extension clients. I already knew that. Clients that I maybe could convert. And one of my biggest stats, and keep your stats. That's the thing. You've got to know your numbers in order to do this. But I was able to convert 60% of that maybe list. It was wild. I was like, but it took work, it took several conversations and being calculated inside of those conversations. And then I had the ones that I kept, but it took me about a year to phase out. And I was able to, about a year and a half, I dropped back off my 5th day, rocked on with my 4, and I was making so much more money.
Wow. And so would you give them discounts? Would you go to that route and say, hey, if you bring a friend, you'll give you $20 off, $100 off, $200? Do you believe in that?
No. So something that my very first extension client paid full price, absolutely full price, the price that I wanted to charge. And the reason why I was able to feasibly do that is because I put in the practice beforehand. She was probably my 50th or 60th install, just not on, my human client. And so I put in the practice before, but one thing that I did was I went out and I found 3 to 4, what I called at the time, local influencers. And you guys, this isn't your influencer on Instagram that has 1 million followers and gets all the likes and the brand deals. And they're the young girls that are also going to attract all the other,
You're talking about town mavens.
Right. Like I'm talking to business women. Yes. The business women that are respected, that everyone wants to be like. And I went and grabbed 3 or 4 of those and I made a deal with them and I put them in a contract, a signed contract. And I said, this is what I'm going to give you. And this is what you're going to give me. And those 4 women built my entire extension clientele. And it was really that easy. And then
I love that.
Yeah. Another thing that we do is we do give a free set of hair if you refer 3 extension clients to us. Works amazing.
Yeah. Oh my God. You're paying for it on the second one. Yeah. So of course, that is incredible. Okay. So for everybody who heard any of these past 2 sentences, right, Nicole, that right there, it's a gem. And even if it's not extensions, even if it's hair pieces, hair restoration, this is all, a big believer that if you want to build a community, you go to the community, the mavens in your community. I love that. So let's talk about the real cost of success.
Yeah.
What were you sacrificing in your personal life during your biggest period of business growth? And how did you eventually find the harmony, between building? And I think that what you said to me, and I'm just repeating what you said. It was the surgery that let you finally realize that you're no longer needed here and you can move on to something different.
Yeah.
But what was the cost of sacrificing all that success?
Yeah. I think there's 2 sides of this. I think number one, everyone needs to understand in order to be successful, you will pay everything. That is time with your family. That is time with your children. That is time. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah. It sounded like there was the wind blowing.
Weird. But you will pay the price for success. Friendships, I have very minimal of those, which is the way I like it because I only want to hang out with people that I align with. But the problem is where people have a problem giving up and sacrificing for success is because they don't know their target. Because who the hell wants to give up personal time with your family, if they don't actually know what their end result is for giving up that thing? And so, you got to have a target. You got to have a scoreboard to even know that you're winning, because no, I would have had a mental breakdown, as would everyone else, if, in the middle of all of that I'm giving up a lot of my personal time. I don't have a lot of time for me, but I'm just grinding. I would have given up. I would have been like, forget this. But I had a target. And, sometimes in such momentum that I even forget that I've hit my targets. But, and that's a whole nother side of the story. But that's it. You got to know where you're going, because you will not get there if you don't give up something. And that's something I ask my people all the time. I'm like, what are you willing to give up in order to get there?
Wow. I think
I
that's
love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. You said earlier that it's important to fall in love with your problems. And now that we have heard more of your story and your perspective on your life and your growth and your journey, I understand what you mean now. It's actually pretty simple.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as saying, what are my problems for you? You wanted financial freedom. You wanted to change your money story.
Yeah.
And so you took a really hard look at what your problems were, what your bottlenecks were, and then you reverse engineered it and grew exponentially from that.
Absolutely.
And you had to say no to a lot of things in order to say yes to yourself and yes to your goals. And so I think it's amazing what you've accomplished. And it seems like you did get back your time and you did get it done. What you set out to do, what you had on your scoreboard happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to add this, for the salon owners and my salon right now, we work out of about 850 square feet. We have 5 to 6 full-time stylists right now, all doing high-end, extension services. We do about 1.5 million. It's going to probably end up about 1.6, and we're at 25% profitability. And I spend 1 hour a week on that business. And so you don't have to be a slave to your business in order to grow and scale. But you do have to be that for a while. It's not overnight. I'm 7 years into this game and I have a business over there just operating completely without me, the business. And now I have 2 businesses that operate almost completely without me. And so, I think that's just something like, if you want to get to that point where you buy freedom, because you said this earlier, it's like the money isn't the thing. It is the freedom. I love to go home, sometimes at 3:30 and spend an evening with my child. I have a 4-year-old and I love to go home and play tractors and be the mom that I've dreamed to be. But that hasn't always been the case, right? So I've had to give up a lot of years in order to, now that he's 4, I can go home and I can play on the ranch that we just purchased, which is also a part of my freedom and dream life. But you guys, I spent lots of years living in a tiny, tiny home that I hated and despised, because that's what I had to give up then in order to get to where I'm at now.
This episode is sponsored by Vish, the smartest color management system for profitable salons. Vish tracks your color usage, reduces waste, and helps you charge accurately for all color services, so you can protect your profit and grow with confidence. You know that we are all about profit and how we live a profitable life of course, by design. You can definitely make it so easily, and I've seen it, the actual results on the P&L. Vish makes it happen. Now join thousands of salons using Vish to scale smarter. Head to getvish.com and see the difference for yourself. This episode is sponsored by Forest Salon Software, the all-in-one solution designed to help salon, spa, med spa owners really deliver with confidence and really design and drive their company to success. Forest isn't just a booking system. It is your machine that will help you grow your company with smart marketing and real-time reporting, staff performance tracking, and world-class support. And I mean world-class support, because I wouldn't even recommend Forest if they didn't have a world-class support. Now, so whether you're scaling to 7 figures or streamline your operation or need to fix things and tighten things up, Forrest can help you make smarter decisions and deliver the luxury experience that your clients and your members really need. If you're ready for software that is all in and grows with you and support you for a truly team-run company, just visit Forrest.com and discover why thousands of salons trust Forrest. And mention Salon Cadence and you'll get the perk. Wow, I think that's very important. You have a 4-year-old.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I always, and Nicole, we always talk about that. We say to everybody that when we go and we speak and we visit businesses, we always say, man, all these owners have children. They're busy moms. But the biggest dream is to be with the kids.
Yeah.
And so are the staff. Their biggest dream is to be with the kids, and we can give them that opportunity. We just don't realize that we don't have, like you said, Terra, you don't have to work that hard if you know your numbers and reverse engineer it. I love it when you said, all I need is 70 clients. So, and then afterwards, you got to make sure that those 70 clients are happy.
Yep.
And so you can maintain them so you don't have to work so hard in getting another 70 clients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing. It's the art of making people happy instead of pissing them off.
It's easy to piss people off, it can be really easy. Well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for taking us through your journey. And I'd love to hit you with those rapid fire questions that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
If you're ready. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Always ready.
Okay, Terra. So I know we've covered a lot. Some of this is going to be repetitive to what we've been talking about on the podcast, but I'd love for you to summarize just quickly what your biggest failure was and what it taught you.
Yeah. My biggest failure was I lost and had to fire my business partner 2 years ago. And at the time, I probably licked my wounds for way too long, but that has turned into the biggest win because now I only work with people that I align with, and it's incredible.
So it taught you to be pickier about who you bring into your circle. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Absolutely. I think that also you probably had some trial and error, a little baptism by fire from those walkouts that you were talking about as well.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. It's super important. We teach that a lot at Salon Cadence about making sure that there's an alignment between you and your team. So I love that. What is your superpower? What would you consider your superpower to be?
Yeah. I'm never, ever the smartest person in the room, but I will outwork the entire room. And that is my superpower. I will put more hours into it. I will study more and I will learn more. And that's how I've gotten to where I'm at.
I love it.
Yeah. I love that. If you could put a billboard anywhere, what would it say?
Well, I have a tagline for my own brand, and it says, from behind the chair to building CEOs. I think in this industry and in a lot of industries, we tend to want to adopt this name of CEO. But what I help salon owners and stylists do is actually look at their numbers, look at your profitability, look at your customer acquisition, look at the lifetime value, look at, how many of those customers are you converting from the leads? And so that way you don't have to work so dang hard because you don't really have to. And so that's truly what I do is I help people become real CEOs. And yeah.
So would it be, you don't have to work so dang hard.
Yes, that's what you don't have to work so dang hard.
You don't have to work so dang hard. I feel like that would go great where I'm from in Missouri. Somebody would definitely respond to that.
Yeah.
You don't have to work so dang hard. What is your definition of success?
My definition of success is hitting the target, hitting whatever it is that you're trying to become. I think the problem is a lot of people just don't know how to figure that out or what it even is that they're trying to do. So yeah, success to me is becoming who I want to become, becoming trusted by who the people I want to trust me, becoming respected, and also, the financial freedom aspect, but I'll have an exact number of all of those things that I want to accomplish. And yeah.
Having a clear target, then hitting that target, then resetting that target, and having amazing people to do that with along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Last one. Is there an exciting or current project that you're working on that's got you excited, that is a current target that you want to share with everybody?
Yes, absolutely. We have developed a new, because there's such a bad rap about commission salons out there, salon owners out there, they'd be taking everybody's money. Don't get me started. That's another episode. And there's another bad rap.
Back to that. I didn't know you wanted to talk about that, Terra. Oh my gosh.
That's another episode. But there was also bad, rep as far as booth rental. And so what we've done, we've created a new structure. It's called the Stratus Salon Systems. And we're actually building out investment funds for stylists that hit certain metrics so they can actually build wealth. And when I say wealth, I don't mean make a bonus. I mean, no, like cash out with multiple millions of dollars when they do decide to exit this industry.
Wow. What should we let people know about that?
Yeah. So right now we're on the ground level of building out a management software so we can sort of gamify the business side of stylists and how they operate, and also salon owners and operating multiple locations. But follow me on social media. That's where you learn the most about those things. I'm constantly, spewing my opinions and stuff about the industry on social media, but I love conversation. I love when people disagree, because that is an opportunity for me to have a conversation with someone and be able to educate. And sometimes people educate me. I don't know it all. I never claim to know it all. And so social media is where you can learn all about
it. Absolutely going to have that in the show notes. Yeah. And for everybody who listened to Terra, know that I've only known Terra for a few hours, and I can tell that there's no fluff there. Just absolutely no fluff. No waste of time.
No. Yeah.
I know that it took you a while to get to where you are, and that it's not an easy ride. There is no easy ride. And probably you will never take an easy ride. It's just not who you are. And for anybody who listen to Terra, just know that if you're looking to learn anything about what is the journey and how you can impact your top line and bottom line, you can find all these show notes, everything in the show notes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, because it's people like Terra that we bring over. And the most beautiful thing is that Salon Cadence support women in our industry and in the wellness industry as a whole. And it's beautiful to just share the space with somebody like you.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm just appreciate you guys having me. It's an honor. I know what you guys are out there doing with Salon Cadence is changing lives for, women founders and what they're doing, because it's not easy. So it's so cool to have people like you guys, in as allies, because we need them. We founders, we need allies, we need help. And that's been my biggest asset, is getting help from people that has done more than I have. So I appreciate you guys having me. It's been an honor.
Oh, it's been super great. And thanks for all the tips, Terra.
Well, thank you so much.
Nuggets.